Briar Fox here once again. Yeah, I've kind of finally decided on a permanent channel name. Nothing else that I was thinking about was really feeling suitable at all. So Briar Fox it seems to be the one, man. I think the Briar part is self-explanatory, and Fox it's always been kind of my professional name, I guess, stage name, whatever you want to call it. I apologize for the noise. As always, I'm shooting at the park right by my house. It's just the best option that I have, honestly, for any kind of video essays like this. It's a beautiful day outside today, so I didn't want to waste it and not come out here and do another video. But once again, it's just going to be some rambling, just kind of personal thoughts on different things that are kind of going on, and a little bit of reflection time. Once again, I've got probably my favorite pipe. This is the Dr. Grabow freehand bent. It's a tall acorn shape. This is the rusticated version. I have both models of this type. This model comes in the rusticated version with that tall kind of acorn bowl, and the smooth one, same bowl, just smooth, and this one's rusticated. Yeah, this one right here seems to be my favorite one. I like the looks, I like the feel, I like the way it smokes, I like the way it packs, full nine. So yeah, it's my favorite. Quick word on this one specifically. It's the only one that I have that is what's a full rusticated or a full textured. Oops, spilling tobacco everywhere here. But this one is the one that's got the full textured finish. Everything else I have is a sandblast. Unless it's the smooth one, like the one I showed you. I have two smooths. The other one being the Dr. Grabow freehand straight. They call it a straight. It's an eighth bend, but it's the other smooth bowl that I have. Oh, I forget. I have a little cherry wood. Also in briar. The cherry wood's the style, not so much the wood. Anyway, most of my pipes are either sandblasted or rusticated. This is the only rusticated one I have. And I think it tends to stay cooler. Oh, gosh. These kids are yelling at the top of their lungs. I apologize for that. Anyway. I might have to redo this video if the noise over there doesn't kind of subside for a bit or after a bit. Anyhow, I was saying that this one the bowl tends to stay much cooler than the other ones. The other smooths anyway. And I suspect it's because of the added surface area that happens when they texture the bowl that way, when they rusticate it that way. So who knows, that may be the reason for it. Anyway, I got some autumn evening in it today. It seems to be my favorite one lately. I don't know what it is about this one. It's a very easy smoke, very very user friendly. Just it's non-intrusive whatsoever. A very pleasant room note. A very, very, very similar one. I would say it's almost identical, other than I think the components, the individual leaf components, is the Sutliff Rum and Maple. Again, it's an almost identical flavor profile, but it's become my favorite lately. It's a little bit tougher to get a char light going in this breeze, so I have to be extra careful with it. And also, for some reason, I don't know if it's the finish on this pipe or just Dr. Grabow's in general. I only have the 3 right now. I really like the freehand series, so I may be getting more of them. But every time I light one up, it tends to, I don't know how to describe it, or maybe you could even see it. It tends to, let's see. I don't know if that's even visible to you, but it tends to make the rim of the bowl somewhat oily and sooty. And it's not something that I've noticed with my other pipes, for example, the crown pipes that I have. And I do notice that the finish on those tends to be a little bit less durable. My red sandblasted ones, like the one I just showed you guys. Here, actually, a better example would be this Dublin right here. The finish is already starting to rub off, especially on the rim. You can see where that sooting is, that kind of scorching or carbonization or whatever it is. It's just soot. I mean, you can see where it's kind of started. You see the same thing here, but it tends to get oilier, and it's not coming off on here. It's almost like the wood itself is scorching. I'm not doing anything different with them than I am with the other ones, so who knows? Maybe it's a property of the finish or the briar itself. I'm not sure, but I tend to have to be a little bit more careful with these in lighting than the other ones. But anyhow, just a couple of updates. Oh yeah, that was much better. So, if you're a regular pipe smoker, you would already know that whenever you do a char light, the tobacco that you've packed into the bowl tends to puff up, and trying to get this set up the best way possible. It tends to puff up and expand in the chamber, and then that's why you got to tap it back down and all that. I've noticed it doesn't happen so much with this cut of tobacco with the autumn evening. The Sutliff one is actually a kind of a coarser ribbon cut, so it's a little different in the way it lights. But this one is kind of just a random rough cut. It's not ribbons. It's like rubbed out flakes, like pre-rubbed flakes almost. Very, very small flakes. And it doesn't expand as much as the other stuff whenever you're having to light it. And typically, trying to see if I can fix this again. Maybe. Anyway, typically, once it's lit, you don't really have to tamp it all that much, except to, keep that ember burning closer to the fresh tobacco every now and then. But after that, it's fine. It's another one of the reasons that I really liked this particular blend, the Autumn Evening. Like I said, it's a very maintenance-free smoke whenever you do have it. But now that it's going, and now that I've kind of got a rhythm, and I don't think I'll have to relight or retamp for a while, I'll start to kind of speak my thoughts here for a minute. I'm at a crossroads, and so this is my secondary channel, if not my third one. I've created a few channels in the past, with various degrees of success. My outdoor channel kind of never went anywhere. As a matter of fact, I started it right before the pandemic lockdowns happened. And it just spiraled and crashed and burned because I didn't have the option to really go anywhere or travel anywhere during the entire lockdowns. And so therefore that channel just kind of died. Move that aside. But also, I had an injury right around that time. Basically right when they started to lift the lockdowns, I had an injury, and I couldn't do the hikes and the outdoor stuff as much anymore, or at all anymore. And so again, that channel just kind of went by the wayside, and I never revived it. So it exists somewhere, hasn't been updated or anything. Had started another couple of music-centric channels for different groups, bands that I was with at the time. Those never worked out, which is a story I'll tell you guys later. But so they're around. They haven't been updated or used. So really, that just leaves this one, and then my main channel, in which I do a lot of my music and production stuff and more of that kind of stuff. That one's a little bit more family friendly, I guess, in the sense that there's no tobacco use. It's the one that I've attempted monetization on. Mainly because we all know that this one will never be monetized. But the reason I mention all that is that this being my secondary channel, I'm expecting it to, and I kind of almost want it to, not have the same level of viewership than my other one does. Main reasons being, of course, it's very pipe centric, and so the YouTube pipe community being what it is, it's already kind of a small community, and number one, I don't expect it to ever grow that big, but I don't want it to, because this is a channel where I would like to be able to speak my mind a little bit more openly, a little bit more freely, and not have to worry about backlash from either other viewers that, my other channel, I do a lot of praise and worship music and music production, and I have a lot of ties to churches, church communities, etc. Of course, my other channel also features heavily, my outdoor channel, also featured very heavily in the scouting community. So I had to be very careful about how I did things there. This one, I really don't have those restrictions. And at the risk of sounding like a poser or coming off as two-faced about who I am, I do want to compartmentalize those worlds just a tiny bit. Not that I believe that there's anything inherently wrong or immoral about smoking a pipe. In fact, I think that, as Charles Spurgeon, a very famous pastor and theologian, once said, I can smoke to the glory of God. And again, that's another conversation for later. But anyway, this is a channel that I want to be a little bit more transparent with and speak my mind, and maybe, I might drop a couple of curse words here and there, but I want to be me, and I want to speak my mind. Initially, like I explained in a couple of the first videos, this is more of a video journal for me than anything else. So, having said that, I'm going to speak my mind a little bit more openly, and I keep saying that, I know, I apologize. If you haven't picked up on it, I have talked about it in the past, but I am a neurodivergent person. I have been told I am on the spectrum, and I guess some of it shows in the way that I communicate and the way I talk. I do tend to ramble and I repeat myself a lot. So I apologize for that. I'll try to edit some of that out if I can. I also tend to go way too deeply into some topics and explanations and do a lot of parentheticals, if you know what that is. I try, like I'm doing right now, so I'll try not to do this much. But anyhow, I'm at a crossroads right now in my personal life in which I'm looking at a very, very great career opportunity. I have been, I guess I'll put it bluntly, I've been praying for the longest time for a chance at a fresh start. It's too much to get into in this particular video, but between some of the personal choices that I made as a young man and some things that were beyond my control, not choices that I made, but situations that were thrust upon me, I guess I'll just be blunt about it. I have fought tooth and nail to either maintain or recover reputation, my reputation. I won't get into the details about it just because I don't want to add fuel to the fire. But it was the perfect storm of events that happened to where I really feel like a good reset somewhere else is probably in my best interest. No, I have not been how do I word this? Might have to edit this part out, but it's not a situation in which I would feel like I'm not somebody who would be trustworthy towards somebody else, or I don't know. Maybe I'll edit this whole thing out. Anyway, it's a situation in which, for various reasons, I've had to really fight to kind of salvage whatever reputation I've had here, and it's affected my business opportunities. It's affected my personal life. It's affected my love life, my relationships. Anyhow, I'm at a crossroads right now in which I think that a fresh start is just what I need. I'm not necessarily running from anything, and I'm not necessarily trying to hide from anything either. But for my own sanity and mental health and peace of mind, I do think that it's a better option for me to start fresh somewhere else, and I've gotten that opportunity. After living almost my entire life in far west Texas, minus a brief stint in the military, I have the option now to move to northern New Mexico into the forest out there. I'm not going to disclose too much of the job because a lot of it is still not official, and so I would hate to make anything public until it's on paper, essentially. Sorry, it's a little windy out here, so I guess I'm tamping more than I thought I would. Anyhow. Yeah, I don't want to announce too much until I know for sure what the details are, until everything's on paper and the ink is dried on the dotted line and all that good stuff. But my chance for a new beginning is definitely real. And here's the thing that got me thinking about a lot of stuff, really about loyalty more than anything else, and double standards. there's very, very little negatives about it. There's very, very few cons about this crossroads, this move that I'm looking at. It would vastly improve not only my living situation, but my financial prospects and even just my own personal mental health. It would be a huge boon to my well-being. I hope I'm using that word right. Anyway, but it exposed a lot of very weird double standards. I'm not going to make any secrets about this, but this was the final nail in the coffin of a relationship that I just got out of over 3 years. And essentially, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of problems from very early on. This is a relationship that I fought tooth and nail for. The other person, unfortunately, basically, I've been fighting for accountability for a long time. Something which my former partner didn't really have a whole lot of. So, as it was, I was already kind of on the fence about how this relationship would survive this particular move, right? This particular decision. And it turns out I was right, but not in the way that I thought I was going to be right. I thought that, we were going to try to power through it and try the long distance thing. And then she would basically hang herself. There have been some, if I can say it this way, there have been some fidelity issues on her part before. And I thought that was going to be the undoing of this all, is that I would have to go over there, we would try the long distance thing, and then I would give her some rope and she would hang herself with it. Turns out that's not at all what happened. And I can't explain why, and this is why I'm thinking out loud about it and trying to process it myself. But what happened is that when I announced this move, I first said, hey, I'm going to apply for this job, etc., etc. And I said it might move me to northern New Mexico, right? At the time, she did say, hey, I don't want you to apply for that job. And she gave me her reasons. None of them were, in my opinion, quite frankly, valid reasons for me to not take this amazing career opportunity. But she asked me, hey, promise me you're not going to take that job. And I told her I will do no such thing. If it's a great career move, if it's a great job opportunity, I have to take it. I have to think about myself, my financial stability. I still have kids that I need to be, mindful of. They're adults, granted, but I'm still a father. I still have to make sure that I'm there for what they need me for when they need me for that. So I told her, I'm not going to promise you that I'm not going to take this job. And that's kind of where it stayed. As is the case with a big job at the national level, because I work for I work for my organization's national division, basically. So it's not even a local thing. And as it happens with any national level job, there's always a process. There's always red tape and a process and this and that and onboarding and etc. There's an application process, even though it's internal. So weeks and months, went by, and there seemed to be no movement on that job. And I guess she thought that it had fallen through or whatever. Secretly, of course, there's stuff, happening not secretly, but behind the scenes, there's stuff happening still. And the wheels are already in motion. And I get a call earlier this year in January. I get a call earlier in January saying, hey, you're one of our 2 finalist candidates for this position. We just wanted to inform you because we need your consent to move forward with the process. Are you still interested? Do you still want the job, etc.? I said, sure, proceed. Which they did. And a couple weeks later, I get a phone call and said, hey, the other candidate besides you that was in the running is no longer a candidate. You're the candidate now. A number of reasons. I think a lot of it was just he was unwilling to negotiate salary. He was a little bit more inflexible about things like that. And I guess his timeline was a little bit more rigid than mine was going to be. A number of reasons. But they told me, yeah, you're the candidate now. So shall we proceed? And I said, by all means, proceed. You have not only my blessing, but my request. Please proceed with this. This is a great opportunity. And so they did. The reason it's all but official now is that, as like I said, with any kind of national level position like this, there's always the legal team that has to go through everything, the contracts and the statement of understanding and all that stuff with a fine-tooth comb and whatever, And so that's kind of where the process is right now. That's fine. So I told her this. Hey, they're going to move forward with me as a candidate, and I told her everything I just mentioned. And I said, look, it's pretty much a done deal that I'm going to be moving up there for this position. Let's talk some serious, couples talk. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about plans. The M word, And marriage, by the way. And I said, let's figure all this out so that you can come up there with me. Keep in mind. See, I don't know if I should say too much about this. Maybe I can say the specifics. I'm not going to tell you the organization, though. That way there's no legal fallout. But part of my job description is it's a live-in position where I'm going to be working. And therefore, they provide housing, all housing. They're providing for utilities. I believe they even have a car that I could use. Basically a company car that I would use during my official duties, that I would also have availability of for just everyday use, right? And then I get a salary on top of all that. How can I say no to this arrangement? Not only that, anybody that goes with me as my partner, spouse, partner, whatever, family, dependent, doesn't matter what capacity, anybody that go there with me, they would be living there for absolutely free. Rent-free, no utilities that they would need to pay for. Really, the only thing that anybody living up there with me, including myself, would need to worry about is basic needs. Food, clothing, toiletries, etc. Everything else is paid for. Everything else is paid for. And so I don't understand how somebody can say no to that. But she said, no, I can't move up there with you. How can you do this to me? I can't leave this and this behind. And that's when it hit me. It's not about me. She wasn't ready to leave her past behind. One of the biggest complaints that I had during this entire relationship was her very unhealthy dynamic, I guess, rapport that she still maintains with her ex, the baby daddy. I was not comfortable with it from the beginning. And not only that, she has made on several occasions comments alluding to her still having some kind of feelings or attachment or something to this guy. So that's when it dawned on me. It's not about me. She's not ready to move up there because she doesn't like me necessarily. She's not ready to leave her past behind. Sorry. Airplane. So yeah. She's not ready to leave her past behind. That's what it is. And it just floors me to think about the double standards of people and the loyalty of people. There's no real loyalty, I think, anymore. This in many ways has jaded me. There's no real loyalty anymore from people. This person was offered everything on a platter. This person was offered everything to be taken care of, to be looked after, to be provided for. Everything. Stupid ice cream truck. Okay, anyway. This person was given the chance for everything. A good life, you know. Granted, we weren't going to be in the big city anymore. It's kind of out, I wouldn't say out in the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of remote. You know, it is in a national forest somewhere. But civilization is 20 minutes away. There's stuff to do out. There's a lot of stuff to do out there. It's not like people are going to be out there isolated in some kind of freaking cabin in the woods situation. No, I mean it's a resort type of thing. It's a retreat kind of facility, you know. So it's not even that backcountry at all where we're going to be living. It's a modern house and it's everything. It's just, anyway. Long story short, it's not like a whole isolation thing. But her attachment to her life here in town and the people that she maintains ties to, a lot of which I believe are unhealthy for somebody in a serious committed relationship. Those ties are too important for her to leave behind and to basically be a queen somewhere and be taken care of. And it just boggles my mind, honestly. And the thing that boggles my mind is that I had mentioned from the very beginning, or I had thought to myself in the very beginning, she wants her cake and eat it too. She wants to have the couple life with the protection and the companionship and everything that goes with that. But she wants to have her other circle, you know. I hate to say it this way, but like her side options, which is really what it boils down to. And so, you know, it's just one of those things where, what do you guys think? Honestly. I'd like to know what you guys think about this whole situation. But anyway, it's starting to get dark. In about 5 minutes, the sun will go down. And yeah, I just kind of want to hear what you guys think about this whole situation and what you guys what you guys are do. Did I do the right thing? Am I being an asshole for, you know, she claims I hadn't considered her in this whole move or situation, but it's too good of it's too good to say no to. And the example that I used was this: what if I was in the military? I was in the military for years before. What if I was in the military under orders? Would you be making the same big deal about it, or about not wanting to move? It's like, no, you probably wouldn't, because neither one of us would have an option or a say so in these orders. It's like, you're going here or there, and that's it, and that's where you're going. And I would have to say yes, you know. I don't find it any different than from being in the military. But because I don't know, that's the way I see it. I tend to see things very black and white. And ultimately, it became the end of the relationship. So, like I said, I kind of feel like it's out of my hands. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's why these are pipe thoughts. This is what Sherlock Holmes would consider a 3-pipe problem. So after signing off here on the video, I might just sit here in this beautiful sunset. We're in the beginning of February right now, and it feels like feels like a warm spring day anywhere else. Which is another reason I want to get out of this area. I love being in the Southwest, but holy hell, out here where I live, the heat is unbearable, and it starts to get hot in early March. And to be honest with you, I'm not looking forward for another summer of 100 days plus of well, let's see, last year, what was it? I think last year we had close to 60 days consecutively of over 100 degree temperatures every day, just consecutive. And at the peak of that, it was like 115. Honestly, I'm done with that. Place where I'm going, I think the highest that I experienced out there in July was 90. And you get your afternoon showers, and it's beautiful. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. I'd love to hear what you think. Please leave your comments. Be nice, but be honest. I'd love to hear your opinions. Anyway, Briar Fox, one more time, and happy piping. Be kind to each other. See you next time.